Hey everybody, it's time for an SK First Edition's field trip to Washington, D.C. A couple of weeks ago, I got to visit Washington and I had a little bit of time to do some very specific sightseeing. I didn't have a ton of time, but I had to prioritize. So I knew that I wanted to, one, go to a bookstore, and I did that. There's a video forthcoming. And if I could only go, the White House, the Capitol, all of that's really cool. But if there was only one place I could go in Washington, D.C., I knew it had to be the Exorcist House and the Exorcist Steps in Georgetown. So that's what I did. Over the next couple of weeks in this field trip mini series, we're going to visit the Exorcist House and Steps and a used bookstore in Washington, D.C. And even though this is a channel dedicated to Stephen King and not William Peter Blatty, I feel like it's worth making an exception, stepping aside from SK a little bit, because The Exorcist, Stephen King himself has gone on the record as saying that The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby a few years before it really opened the floodgates and paved the way for his own ascension and his own career to really hit the ground running in 1974. That's, of course, the year that Stephen King published his novel of a girl possessed of a terrifying power. Well, 3 years prior, in 1971, William Peter Blatty had released his own novel of a young girl possessed of a terrifying power. And then, of course, the movie came out in 1972, and everything horror was just off to the races. And Stephen King has said that if Carrie had been finished and pushed forward for publication just 6 months later, 6 months earlier, or a year earlier, a year later, it may not have hit in exactly the same way. So basically, he needed The Exorcist to set the stage for his own career and what he was then able to take the baton and carry forward in terms of his literary output and the way he moved horror forward in the pop culture, which is now iconic looking back on it over the past 50 years. And like I do when I'm visiting a new place, I try to experience things the way a local would, which sounds really pretentious, and it's probably is. It's probably more trouble than it's worth. But I rode the bus, basically. I rode the bus to Georgetown, and I had to walk quite a ways. I had to hike and use GPS to get me to the Exorcist House. And I knew I wanted to see it. I was ill prepared, which is unlike me. I hadn't done a lot of reading or research about it beforehand. So I got there, and of course I saw the steps and I recognized them, but the house, the orientation of the house didn't make sense to me. I was all confused. I was all discombobulated. So I went and I visited, and then I went across the street to the restaurant, The Tombs, which I understand was a favorite of William Peter Blatty. And while I was there eating, I did some more research on the Exorcist House and was like, duh. And then after, went back and did sort of a follow-up video since I understood a little bit better what I was looking at. So even though at least the first part of my on-site video is a bit of a hot mess, I chalk it up to being in a new place, slightly disoriented, and just being very busy in general, not having a ton of time to prepare, and just being such a geeky fanboy at heart. I didn't have all my details straight, but I was still super excited to be there. And I'm super excited to share this with you today. So this is the first part of a 2-video series of my SK First Edition's field trip to Washington, D.C. I hope you enjoy it. Hey everybody, I am coming to you live on location in the Georgetown neighborhood of Washington, D.C. I'm right outside the Exorcist House. I think that was Reagan's window in the movie. But through a bit of movie magic, the orientation of the house in relation to the famous Exorcist steps is a bit misleading. There's a nice yard between the house and where I'm walking now. But there they are, the infamous Exorcist steps, which I'm now about to walk down. I hope I don't get lost because I don't really want to walk back up the steps, but here I go. I think, if I remember right, in the movie where I'm standing now, if I look straight up, the window, Reagan's window, would have been straight above. But like I said, that was a little creative license. It's not actually like that. Anyway, I'm going to take some still pictures before I go all the way down. So, signing off as one horror junkie to many, many others. This is really, really cool. I'm so excited. So I got all confused, but after doing some research, the movie production built a false attic on the house because there were some references to rats in the attic, which of course this house doesn't really have. And there was a large extension built on that extended the house, kind of made it L-shaped so that plummeting out of the window onto the stairs was actually a thing. Had the house been the size, had the house really been that shape and size. But anyway, you can see on the bottom level, the second entry, the second space is the front door. That's from the movie. And after the production, they took all the modifications off and returned the house to its original state. Anyway, I was all confused, but now I know. Reagan's window is not actually there in real life, and the window where the light shone down on Max von Sydow, not really there either. I was all confused, but now I understand, and that's nice.
And now a word about our sponsor.
Since 2001, The Collector has been a cornerstone resource of the Stephen King collecting community, providing information about remarks, manufacturing and selling slipcases to protect your cherished titles, providing forums where you can connect with like-minded collectors, and providing information about all the books a collector could possibly be interested in, from limited editions to first editions and all the other editions to boot. Additionally, The Collector provides up-to-the-minute information and exciting news about everything Stephen King, collected from all over the internet. StephenKingCollector.com. Go check it out. You'll be glad you did.